Hi, this is Troxel. In the previous tutorial, we learned how to write envelope points into an XML file, and so in this one we're going to begin learning how to read that information back from the XML file. The reading of the information is just a touch more complex, so we're going to break this up into two tutorials. First one, we're going to go through all the base reading, and then in the second one we'll go through all of the supporting functions that we have and then test it. So let's see how we do this. The first part of our script, I have put a number format in here which will be used by some of the supporting functions, and so we just want to declare this variable so that we can use it. And then this is something we've done many times before. We just are creating an open file dialog. We want to look at XML files. We do not want to be able to select multiple ones. And once again, you can set the initial directory to wherever you want it set to. Then it's going to show the dialog, and then if they pressed OK, we're going to do this stuff. And what we want to do is get the file name from the open file dialog, and then we're going to import envelopes, and I just put that all into its own separate routine. So here's the import envelopes routine. First thing I'm going to do is open an XML document, create a new XML document, then we're going to load my file into that document. And then we're going to look for the root element, and then for every child in that root, first thing I want to look for is it track? If it is track, then I want to get the track index and I want to get the track type. And so we just import those from the index file by using this attribute to int32 and attribute string. These are some of the supporting functions that we're going to talk about in the next tutorial. Then I find that track, so I create a track variable called myTrack from myvegas.project.tracks, and I want to get the index of that track. Now, if the media type equals the type that we had indicated that it should be, then we want to process that type of track. So if the type was an audio track, then now I'm going to call process audio envelopes, and I'm going to pass it child, which is from our for each up here, so I'm going to pass it that child, and then I'm going to pass it an audio track version of my track. Otherwise, I'm going to process video envelopes. Once again, I'm going to pass it child, and I'm going to pass it a video track version of my track. So now I've got two new routines here, one for process audio envelopes, one for process video envelopes. They're basically both identical. And here they both are. Here's the process audio envelopes, process video envelopes. So now I'm going to go for each child2 in child. If child2.name equals envelope, then I want to process the envelopes. What I do is get the envelope type, which I just called eType, and we pulled that from the envelope type in the XML file. Then I'm going to create a new envelope of that type, and then for that track I'm going to add that envelope, and then same thing down here on video envelopes. For each child, if it's an envelope, then I get the type of envelope, create a new envelope of that type, and then add the new envelope to that track. Notice up here I'm adding it to an audio track, down here I'm adding it to a video track. But now that I have an envelope, they're all handled the same. Whether they're a video envelope or an audio envelope, it doesn't matter. So now I can go back to a single function. Instead of duplicating all of this information twice, I can go back to a single function called import envelope points, and I'm going to pass it child2 and then the envelope that I created. So I'm going to import envelope points, once again child2, and the envelopes I created. So we have just enough difference in the video track and audio track that we have to add a certain type of envelope to a certain type of track. But once that envelope is added to that type of track, then we can process the envelope the same way for either type. So then we have our import envelope points. Once again, we passed it child, and we passed it the envelope, which I just called here my envelope. So now for each child 2 in that child, if it is an envelope point, I want to get the time, which is a time code. I want to get the value, which is a double, and I want to get the curve type, which is of type curve type. Once again, we're going to talk about all these attribute commands in the next tutorial. I want to look to see if there is already a point at this time. So I create me an envelope point, which I just called my point, and I'm going to get it from myEnvelope.points.getPointAtX and look at this time code. Now, if my point does not equal null, if there was a point there, then all I have to do is set the .y equal to value and set the curve equal to the curve type. Otherwise, there was not a point there. So now I need to create me a new envelope point, which I just called new point, and we get new envelope point at this time with this value with this curve type. So we've set all 3 values as we create the new point, and then we add to myEnvelope.points, we add the new point. So this is the base routine on how to actually go through the XML file, read the values, and create the new points. Now in the next tutorial, we're going to go through all of the supporting functions that we did not go through in this tutorial, and then we'll actually run it to see how it imports the information. So if you like this tutorial, like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what you don't like, what you would like to see, any comments you have for me, and like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.